Welcome to GIDSS Talk. Today we have Mr. Williams from Lambton College in Toronto with us. He teaches IT courses and today he is with us to discuss his experience.
Thank you so much. My name is William and I'm currently a PhD student at Ryerson Computer Science Department. And here in Lambton College in Toronto, I have two jobs. I act as a coordinator for a cloud computing program, and I also teach cloud computing and information technology. So basically for the past 14 years in Canada, I've always been involved with IT sector, both professionally and academically.
So as per your vast experience, what are different options available for students or immigrants in Canada?
Okay, that's a very good question. In fact, I always get this question from my students, and I will provide two different answers. First, I will go with the students. For students, at this time in IT sector, there are a couple of what I call relevant fields. Programming is one of them, networking is another one, cybersecurity, data science, cloud computing. These 4 or 5 topics are the hot topics of today market, and if you are actually competent in any of this, you will find relevant jobs and finding them pretty easy. For young professionals or for professionals in general who came to Canada, I have a different message. If you are a doctor and you come to Canada, you have to go through a lot of exams before you can practice here. But in IT, that doesn't apply. In IT, we have majority of applicability from the knowledge that you have in any country in Canada. So if you were a programmer back home, you are more than welcome to start writing code here without any certification or exam. So my recommendation for a lot of professionals who come to Canada is I would advise them to go back to their core competency and find out what you were really good at previously and try to apply the same knowledge that you had here, because IT does not have any geographical barrier, and that's something that we appreciate here in IT. Last but not least, I would also recommend both students and young professionals to invest in soft skills. By nature, by training, I think IT people are very good at hard skills. What we usually fail at is the soft skills, communication skills, escalations, negotiations, all of the soft skills that make one professional more employable. So I understand that 80% of our focus should be hard skills, but please do not underestimate the value of soft skills, because in your interview, I would say the most important aspect before they dive into your technical skills would be your communication skills and soft skills.
Are there any bridging programs for IT professionals coming from other countries, and how they are useful?
Another very good question. Yes, in fact, I found a couple of different options available for young professionals and professionals coming from different countries who have practiced IT in their own country and now they want to basically start working in Canada. Options are usually starting with the shortest option. I'll start time-wise. The shortest time is a certificate, an industry recognized certification that is acceptable in Canadian workplace. I'll name a few. There is Microsoft certification, there is Cisco certification, there is CompTIA certification, and these certifications are very well known in IT sector. So perhaps by spending a few months in a library and passing an exam, you can become certified, and that would be very valuable in your resume. A little bit longer in terms of time would be a 1 or 2 year program in a college, in a Canadian college, and as we indicated, it's usually 1 or 2 years, and you will get a diploma. Of course, the weight of a diploma is higher than a certificate that you obtain, but it requires a longer commitment and a full-time commitment usually. There are a lot of boot camps, hackathons as we call them in IT sector. A weekend, 2 weekends, you go and then from let's say 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. you focus on one single topic and you practice under a master on that topic, and you will become eligible to apply in that field. So we call them boot camps. The only concern is usually they're a little bit costly because you are actually receiving the highest possible quality of training from an industry expert. For other professionals who want to continue their education at the university level, there are a lot of young professionals and IT professionals who come from different countries, and they recognize the value of receiving a university degree from a Canadian university. Programs such as data science, computer engineering, these programs are available for people who want to commit a little bit longer. I would say 4 years, and if it's a master program, 2 years minimum. And many universities, especially in Toronto, University of Toronto, York University, and Ryerson, they have continuing education department specifically designed to help professionals to be retrained and be updated again. So these are different options that I can name for someone who wants to basically get ready for Canadian job market.
How course with co-op or internship placement opportunities help students in getting job of their choice?
Okay, I sense this from my own students. I talk to them all the time, and most of the students and professionals are not aware of the value that a placement or a co-op can bring to their professional life. And I want to name a few that I've personally seen plays a significant role in the future success of that person. First of all, by walking to a workplace, you're learning to walk out of your comfort zone, which is your classroom. So you will interact with people that you would never interact otherwise, other than this situation, other than being in that co-op placement. So it widens your circle of communication, and you interact with many different roles, and you understand the soft skill that is needed in a Canadian workplace. You also understand Canadian workplace culture, which may be different from culture that a person is accustomed to. So when you go to a Canadian workplace, you learn how things are handled. You actually learn how people disagree, and how people disagree about something that you may have your own opinion, and now you want to actually provide them with your own feedback. This is an amazing learning experience. I call it under an umbrella of soft skill that is very necessary. Remember that in majority of work placement and job placement situation, you have a supervisor, and that person will provide you with a very valuable feedback. You can always look at that person and say, if my supervisor is happy, I'm doing a good job. And then we say, yeah, you're doing a good job on this aspect, but you have to improve the other aspects. So this is an amazing learning experience for all the students. And guess what? If you do an amazing job, and that's the main reason of co-op and placement, you will be probably offered a job by the same firm, because now they have known you for 4 months, 3 months, 8 months, depends on the duration of your co-op. But if you're an amazing candidate, they're not going to let you go. They've already trained you, they've already invested time and supervision, and there you go. I've seen many cases that on the last day of co-op, my students have received an employment offer, which is amazing. And the least thing that you can achieve during your placement is a reference. Let's say there is no job available in that company, you walk out, and now you're after other jobs. You can always use them as a good reference. So I think there is a huge value for programs who have this placement and co-op.
So if someone from one IT sector wants to move to another IT sector, say for example from networking to big data or programming, what could be the challenges and how they could be overcome?
Okay, so this is a question that I usually hear from people in industry after a few years, and it raises an alert in my mind all the time that given the fact that there are many IT jobs available in almost every sector of IT, why one wants to switch from one to another one? Is it because maybe they're thinking that the other job would be easier, or maybe they hate what they're doing because they think the other part is pretty easier or nicer, I would recommend everyone to think that they have to switch their IT practices to study the target IT sector very well. Because it looks pretty good from outside. You may say, oh, it's cool to be a programmer. I'm a network guy or a network person and I want to dive into programming. Because I see programmers always enjoying their time. Hold your thought and really look at the requirement and basically talk to a few programmers. See what they do on a daily basis and see if that makes you happy. Because based on my experience, almost every sector has its own challenges and difficulties. It's almost impossible to say programming is easier than networking. Remember that these are technical jobs and you should have knowledge. And just because you feel networking is difficult, that doesn't make programming easier. You have to go to programming and then you see, oh, programming has its own challenges as well. Unless you really hate the sector that you're involved with, I do not necessarily suggest you to transfer to another IT sector, especially a transformation in which you cannot borrow your practices and your experiences. If I'm a networking expert and I'm going to cloud computing, yes, 60% of my knowledge can be reused. But if I am a cloud computing expert and I'm diving to programming, I'm losing all my experience in this field. And that's something that I usually advise people to consider it as a last option. So generally speaking, it's not something that I would recommend, but one with good reason should actually do due diligence on both sides and see whether the new IT sector is worth trying to go into.
What tips you want to give to students or IT beginners to get their dream job?
Okay, first and foremost, I would like to express one important fact that most IT professionals underestimate. IT is a sector that you need to keep yourself up to date all the time. It's not like some other practices that you graduate and perhaps maybe once a year or twice a year you open a book to keep yourself up to date with the latest trends. Trends in IT are coming all the time, every single day. So part of your daily routine should be, perhaps in the morning, 15, 20, 30 minutes to keep yourself up to date with the latest trends. And it's only by studying the latest trend that you can become and remain relevant. Otherwise, after a few years, your knowledge will be obsolete. So keeping yourself up to date is one of the most important advice that I've always had for all the students. The second thing is, I suggest, given the wide variety of jobs that exist in IT, I suggest you find your passion. Do not follow somebody else's dream that, oh, I was a programming and I was being paid very well. Perhaps that person was paid very well because he or she was really good in their jobs, and you're only good if this is your passion. So just because, let's say, networking is an interesting topic, do not choose it as your main key factor, because you will realize after a few years that this is going to be the story of your life till end of your life, and you want to do it with passion. Otherwise, you're not motivated to keep up with all the technology changes. I see people tired from IT changes every single day. They say, oh, I studied this and yesterday and now it's irrelevant. Yeah, but if you have passion, you enjoy these challenges altogether. And especially for IT beginners, I strongly advise you to avoid at all costs becoming jack of everything, master of none. I know people all the time that they say, I know a little bit of programming, I know a little bit of networking, I know a little bit of cloud computing. But when we ask them, are you expert in any of them? The answer is no. Try to become master in one major topic, let's say networking, programming, any other field that you choose. Once you are the master in that field, only then try to explore all other IT factors or sectors. And it's only then that your knowledge becomes valuable, because you're really good at one core competency and then you're also good in other aspects. So do not try many different disciplines without becoming a master in one.
Thanks, Williams, for coming to GIDSS Talk. This interview is a part of Bridging the Gap funded by Government of Canada.
I would like to thank GIDSS for this opportunity, and I wish every single viewer of this video best of luck in finding a suitable job in Canadian workplace environments.